All right. So, welcome to the October 10th HWMA meeting. We will start with roll call. Meredith Matthews, I'm here. Vice Chair Jones.
Here.
And subbing for Director Castellano is Director Contreras-Deloche.
Here.
Director Katie.
Here.
Director Bushnell.
Here.
And Director Wilson.
Here.
Looks like we're all here. Wonderful. All right, we'll move to the consent calendar. We have approved minutes from September 12th, 2024 HWMA Board of Directors meeting, review and approve July 2024 financial reports, and C, approve Resolution 2025-06, Conflict of Interest Code. Does anybody want to pull anything off of consent? Is there any public comment on our consent calendar this evening? All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move we pass the consent calendar as delivered in our packets.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion from Director Jones and a second from Director Katie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, consent passes. And now it is time for oral and written communication. Is there any public comments?
Hello, I'm Linda Wise. I am a resident of the city of Eureka. I am now the past general manager of Recology, Humboldt County, Eel River, and Arcata. I just retired. My first day off was on October 3rd. And I've been in this career in the career of waste for almost 25 years, but in Humboldt County, it's been just over 21, starting out as a safety and environmental compliance manager and then working into operations and then finally general manager. Through my years in our succession planning, I've identified Frank Nelson, who has been promoted to the general manager position, and he comes to us from Reno. He ran a collection program that was mainly debris box, and for those of you that are listening, those are the great big boxes that you use for cleanup. But in Reno, it is the largest debris box single company service in the United States. Imagine how much trash Nevada makes. They don't have the laws that we do in California. So when he came here, he had to learn a whole new vernacular. Not in California, but in Nevada, they're not the same from state to state. And because he was in collections of debris box, he also came to a company that does collections, curbside collections, residential, debris box. And we also have transfer stations. We operate the one for Humboldt County, the Redway transfer station and the container sites, and the Fortuna transfer station, which is privately owned in Fortuna outside the JPA. But it's a new experience for him that brought some new understanding, because all of those kinds of businesses are usually separated. The companies, larger companies, they keep the collection separated from recycling, processing. Their own company and their own transfer stations are separated because they're large entities and they're all difficult on their own. They carry different laws, different all kinds of different expectations, different accounting. It's quite different. And melding those things together kind of in my retirement is reminding me right now just like how challenging this SB 1383 is right now for all of you, because all of those things are going to meld in together eventually. And I work at this job 24/7, or I did, and it's something we do every day. And our jurisdictions have had to come up to speed with learning, parts and pieces of how these things fit together. And this is huge, because SB 1383 in this community, this is the biggest thing that's happened in 30 years with the sale of the landfill and the transfer station to Humboldt Waste Management Authority, I would believe. It's a gigantic project. So in leaving, I'm thinking of, how can I give advice and what's going to be helpful to you and the jurisdictions going forward. And I think I'm thinking to some of the questions I get asked by the public, and I'm sure you're going to get asked as representatives for your own jurisdictions is, what is Humboldt Waste Management Authority? Because often we get confused from one another, Recology and HWMA, about what our functions are. I think that it would be important to be able to have a good understanding so you could talk to the constituents about that. What's a JPA? What is a franchise agreement? What is under a franchise agreement? What does that mean? What are the laws and regulations that are under that? How are these laws and regulations going to impact you and your constituents? Because these aren't simple answers. And I lived through mandatory garbage collection implementation in the city of Eureka. I remember it was really hard. Arcata got a little bit of everybody cut their teeth on Eureka, so they didn't have it. I don't think they had it as hard, but it is going to be, there's going to be a lot of questions coming out of it. So I think it would really help if there were some public meetings that maybe talk about these things so people have better understandings about the mechanics of these things and how they interlace with each other. Because I really do hope for the success of this program. It's going to be an important one, and we're hoping to be part of it to make it go right. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and it was a pleasure working with all of you and seeing you tonight. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on your retirement and congratulations on your promotion. We look forward to working with you. Any more public comment? All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me. My name's Frank Nelson, the new general manager for Ecology Humboldt County. My wife and I, Christina, moved here about 4 years ago, and I've learned a whole lot about the county by just getting out and meeting people. You'll see me at a lot of Chamber of Commerce events. You'll see me at a lot of Rotary events, things like that. And my wife and I intend to be a big part of the community, and we have been since we got here, and I hope to continue to service the community going forward and help with the implementation of things like SB 1383 and partnering with the JPA in any way that we can as a collection company and providing quality service to everyone. And I think Linda hit it on the head that, SB 1383, I remember when I first got here, I started reading about the JPA, and Linda told me, don't read about the JPA, that'll come. She said, read about SB 1383. That was the very first thing that she told me. And so I stopped and I started focusing all of my attention on SB 1383. And I started to understand that it's something that was in the works for a long, long time before I even moved to California and heard about it. And I realized that it was something with such breadth and such depth that it was hard to conceptualize it even happening. And it has such deep implications on food recovery, on restaurants and schools and businesses and collections and people's opinions about waste and people's opinions about whether or not they should be told to collect their waste in certain ways or pay for certain things. And so it really does have huge implications. And I think that one of the things that she touched on that really makes a lot of sense is that I don't think that the amount of time and the amount of effort that people have to dedicate to these things is as much as they need, because there's so many different things that people have to dedicate their time to right now. And I think that this one is hard compared to other things like waste, compared to things like, fairness, equality, and being able to pay our bills and be able, like, it doesn't usually rise to the top of the melting pot, right? And so, I would hope that I would hope for the encouragement of staff, and I would hope for the encouragement of your jurisdictions to continue to put the effort towards trying to find a nice holistic solution to waste collection, organics processing in Humboldt County. We've got 125 business owners, and I say business owners because every one of the people that work for Ecology is a stockholding business owner. And so, we're all dedicated to working with Humboldt County and all the jurisdictions to try to find a way to ease implementation of these state mandated programs in a way that people can understand and in a way that people can benefit from. So I think that's all I have about that, but I want to thank you all for all of your time. Have a great night.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody on Zoom?
Seeing none, but staff did want to note that HWMA staff received a letter from Recology as well. That is included in the packet as public comment also.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. I will close oral and written communication, and that will bring us to number 4, ratify emergency purchase and construction project. Can we get a staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So as noted in the staff report, the 939 West Hawthorne property is owned by HWMA and currently under a long-term lease agreement with Recology. This property suffered significant loss of power that affected several key operational activities related to Recology's use of the facility and daily needs. It was determined by a trusted and regularly used electrical consultant that the issue stemmed from a main stem of underground electrical conduit collapsing and cutting the underground power. Based on the severity of the power loss and the potential for significant impacts to services, staff moved forward with executing the project under an emergency provision. Additionally, this board approved the annual budget process for $100,000 specifically for repairs and maintenance of the 949 Hawthorne property. This earmarked funding will be used to cover these unanticipated costs. Staff recommends the board approve and ratify the executive director's emergency purchase and construction project in the amount of $35,950.
Okay. Does the board have any comments or questions? Go ahead.
Yes, hi, thank you for that report. Will we need to do a budget amendment for this purchase, or is there enough in our funds to do this? Is it allocated already?
So during the fiscal year process, we allocated $100,000 to upkeep for that parcel specifically. There were planned projects. Staff will take a look at assessing those projects, what has the greatest need, and potentially moving or postponing till next year certain projects that maybe are not currently needed in the fiscal year. This was an emergency that had to happen to restore some of their services. So we will dip into that funding that we'd already set aside at the this fiscal year's budget, and we'll take a look at projects that we can put off.
Does anybody else have any questions? Well, open that up for public comment. Any public comment on this agenda item? Anybody on Zoom?
Seeing none.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the board.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve and ratify the executive director's approval of an emergency purchase and construction project in the amount of $35,950.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Director Katie and a second by Director Bushnell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes, and that will move us to item 5, proposed reclassification. May I have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So unfortunately, Director Heacock was unable to attend this evening, but the staff report as presented lays out the background and rationale for the proposed reclassifications, with its main points reiterating that the duties and expectations of the job at the landfill fall well outside what is currently scoped and expected for the materials diversion classification that we have. Staff believes the revised job description will assist the authority in recruiting more qualified and applicable candidates for the specialized work that takes place at the landfill. With that, staff recommends the board approve the revised job description for the landfill supervisor and reclassed landfill technician description to be effective immediately.
It's been pretty difficult to find staff. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very specialized set of skills that are utilized up there, and unfortunately, throughout this process, we've realized that our current MDT classification that wrapped the landfill technicians into it in 2019 doesn't quite do the needed skills justice.
Is there any public comment? And then we'll bring it back to the board. All right. Does anybody else have any additional comments, questions?
I'll make a motion. To approve the job description for the landfill supervisor and reclassified landfill technician along with an updated organizational chart.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion by Director Bushnell and a second from Director Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving right along. That'll take us to board member reports. Does anybody have anything to report out?
Yes, I'd like to report in Blue Lake, my little town that I'm very proud to be the mayor of, that last Saturday we had a yard waste day in Blue Lake, which we have every other month. This will be probably the last one for this year until the spring. They're utilized very well by our constituents, and it's a good program. So we'll continue it for next year. Thank you.
I would just like to say I was very pleased to see HWMA represented at North Country Fair. Got to talk to your tablers, and it was really great to see you out there. It's been a minute since you guys have participated in any of those events, so I hope that becomes a regular thing. It's great to see you out there. And you know, I wasn't involved with the planning of North Country Fair, but I'm happy to report that that was a zero waste event. We had all reusable dishware and glasses, and I'm looking forward to the report of how much waste that we saved, but I'm super proud of Arcata. All right, let's move right along. Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Chair. So first and foremost, HWMA would like to thank Linda Wise for her years of service to Humboldt County residents, and we obviously wish her a happy retirement. I've had the pleasure of working with Linda in some capacity for the past 15 years, and her impact that she will leave behind her is enormous. So we are obviously sad to see her go, but we wish her nothing but the best in retirement, and we look forward to working with Frank in her capacity. Additionally, as noted on the last board, we anticipated bringing an RFP for feasibility study of organics processing in county. You'll note that is not on this board packet. We project bringing that to the next board meeting, and that is simply due to your executive director. I had a couple items come up that forced me to be unable to get the ad hoc committee together, or the executive advisory committee together, and finalize that RFP. So I apologize for that, but it will be on the November board packet.
Looking forward to that. And with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.